Hello dear friends of Kansas.
Bonjour à toutes et à tous.
Hello dear friends of Kansas.
Nous avions exprimé le désir de continuer le rapprochement entre nos deux villages.
During our visit in December 2013, we have expressed our wish to continue with the connection between our two villages.
Depuis, les données ne sont plus les mêmes. En effet, la municipalité ayant changé, la majorité est moins intéressée par cette formidable et belle histoire.
Since then, things have changed. A new town council has been elected, and its majority is less interested by this great story.
Basically, what had happened in the 1947-48, this Velma Carson, and particularly the preacher at the Methodist Church, decided they needed to get involved in the world. And they started looking for some place so they could do something. Let's do something. They heard about a thing called Operation Democracy, which was one community in the United States adopting a community in Europe. This is in 1948. You go back and check your records. 1948 turned out to be one of the most cold, miserable years that had come along. It was a miserable cold winter all through World War II, but 48 was a rough one. Not only in Europe, it was rough in Kansas.
Well, I can remember we had ration of sugar and coffee and rubber tires for our car and those kind of things, and it affected us here too.
It was a historical pageant, and I understand that they had lots of different represent in the pageant different nations and nationalities from around the world, and use the history of Kansas and the United States and the world to weave together a story and a community, a worldwide community. So anyway, a lot of people of all ages were invited to participate and help as a way to bring people in to view the pageant and to raise funds to buy food and clothing for families in Feves that had lost so much in the war through bombings and military actions that had left them destitute. People here in this community wanted to find a way to help, and so early on, that's one of the Morganville's claims to fame, or at least locally, is that they're delighted to have had an opportunity and been a part of something that was helpful to people who were in need.
In 1948, late one Saturday afternoon, my folks loaded me in the car and we took off. I didn't know where we were going. We ended up in Morganville, Kansas, and there were lots of people around. There were what I learned to call the stadium with something going on in it. And I think I can remember sitting on the rock ledge up there watching. Later on, I learned it was called the pageant. It was the story that Morganville had written to tell the community of Feves in France the history of the community of Morganville. I have a faint memory of a woman leading a cow across that stadium with corn, which was one of the stories in the pageant. And I learned later that the person that did this was Velma Carson. Velma would do most anything. She was a true character.
Well, I was a high school girl, and well, I was a senior in high school, really. And I don't remember all that much about it, but it was a whole group of people that got together. This lady had written it, and I was a Chinese girl, and because I had a round face and kind of real squinty eyes, and I don't remember what I did in it. It just went so fast.
I would say that it certainly wasn't paid attention to if it wasn't lost. If you ask questions, people knew. So I'd say it wasn't lost because it transferred generation to generation. People my age, when I moved to town, knew what the Fev town was. None of us knew how to say Fev. We said Feves because it's how it's spelled in English, and we're phonetic sort of folk. And that's as close as we got.
Now, quite frankly, within 25 years, the only people that are going to be interested are historians. That's the way history works. You remember things, and then it dies, and somebody else is going through and says, oh, this is what happened.
Je dis que ce que Morganville a fait, moi je pense qu'il faut que ça reste dans les mémoires. Et c'est pour ça que c'est très très important la continuité de cette relation entre Morganville et Feves.
Because of history and things, this is something that shouldn't be forgotten. So it's really important that such things should be remembered.
The thing that really stood out to me was the string trio at the lunch as the visitors from Feves started to enter into the the room where we had the lunch hosted. We're playing songs that were familiar, French songs, and the visitors didn't know any English, but they recognized the music as familiar tunes from their home, and broke into smiles and broke into song, and were singing the lyrics to these French songs that were so familiar to them. And you could just tell that they felt so welcome. They visited farm headquarters here near Morganville and got to ride combines and tractors, and they got a tour of the elevator, and they toured the site of where the pageant was held in downtown Morganville all those years ago, and saw the site of the house where Velma Carson had lived, and were wonderful, wonderful guests. Very happy to be here, and happy to, even when they started to leave town, they stopped as soon as they got to the edge of town so they could take pictures with the Morganville sign.
I enjoy culture. I enjoy people's, just their whole attitude about life. And then the fun thing that is silly, but for me is we're the same. We look the same. You're gonna eat your food the same. You know, tastes, aromas, there are preferences, but one guy's the same as the other, and that's, to me, is intriguing. Not that shouldn't be intriguing, that should be assumed, but it's not for me, and that was fun. Well, then you begin to associate with families, because now it's not just a physical similarity. There's a similarity between you need fellows, you need people, you need family, you need association. You can't be, we aren't good at being lonely, and that's across the world. It's not just here, and those things intrigue me. And then just the culture, the fact that they were excited about coming to a tiny little farm town in the middle of nowhere that's not even, I don't know if you say it's dying, but we certainly are static, and that's kind of cool. And they didn't just come as a sideline trip the first time. They came here, and that was kind of cool.